The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Yeah, just when I thought that this would be a perfect time, everything was okay. Nani had an incredible performance at the Skills Challenge, but you know what, Don? Just no. Your State of the League, no. But before I go off on my rant, I should probably say to people, hi, this is Soccer to the Max. No, we haven't forgotten it. No, we're not dead. At least I don't think. This is Erik Watkins, back at least mostly sane, but to help keep my sanity into where I'm not doing this myself, I have the awesome, proactive, as I should say, Rachael McCreeger with me here tonight.
And somehow, someway, Marianne Williamson is making some sort of sense in this debate. No. Let's get on with it.
Wait a minute, she's at that? Wait, I'll save that for point of viewer debate edition. Yeah, because there's no way that I'm going to dissect all of that sober. Besides, we've got some other big issues. We have here these little documents, our primers that we have for our prep, and it was chock full of the MLS news and a bit of El Tráfico and the Leagues Cup and a lot of other things that have happened in the world of NWSL and MLS in the last couple of weeks. Well, most of that we had to throw out, not gonna lie. One big reason is a little bit of a bombshell that dropped today. We are finally, although strangely and suspiciously, getting our wishes. So, while I will still have my rants close to my heart, Rachael, I think you might be losing one soon.
All I'm saying is the next coach of the U.S. women's national team should have a one-syllable name. Folks, it's happening. Jill Ellis is stepping down as U.S. Soccer head coach. Shout out to my team over at the Equalizer, Jeff Kazouf, getting the news out before U.S. Soccer even released it. Huge, big ups to them. Ellis is staying for the Victory Tour, the game this weekend, two in September and 2 in October. But alas, she's done. The time is done. It is a new era. And you know what? As crazy as some of her decisions were, that I will never agree with in my life, applause to Jill Ellis on her winning 2 World Cups. I think for some reason fans will always be mad about that Olympics loss. It's still very dear and fresh to our hearts. But Jill Ellis, she did an amazing thing. She's the first female coach to win back-to-back World Cups. She has over 100 wins. She has a chance, should, hypothetically speaking, the U.S. national team win all of their Victory Tour games, which, granted, I think you and I can both agree, 3 out of the 5 matches have opponents, and they should be wins for the U.S. She has a chance to step above the legendary, the late, the great Tony DeSico for most U.S. women's national team wins. And I think that Jill Ellis, for all her many faults, did something that nobody else could, and that's really connect the players. I think this is the tightest group we have ever seen in our life, and the national team, it can only go up from here. I'm excited to see who's next in charge. I'm excited to see who's going to get interviewed. It's going to be a tiring process, but it's also going to be a quick process because we have Olympic qualifying in February. But Jill is out. Jill, you have 5 more matches. For the love of God, do not give me something to work with on a rant. Go out like a star for me. Please don't give me something to rant about, although I'm sure you will.
And I was actually wondering about this. Now that it's a victory tour, so for the sake of argument, let's just say the team is going to get points in all 5 matches. I mean, it's kind of set up that way. But knowing that this is it for Jill Ellis, and do the players really want to go ahead, since they'll be taking a break from the NWSL, which they shortened this tour to help prioritize, and just say, okay, let's go out and win all of these for her, or do we just go out and win all of these for ourselves? I think it's going to be an interesting mindset, and while she did have big shoes to fill, I think she filled them well. As you said, 2 more titles, back-to-back, over 100 wins. She took what was a very good team situation, really stepped it up even better, and there's great momentum for whoever the next coach is going to be. But I find the timing a little bit weird. I'm thinking to myself, why now instead of after the Olympics? Get yourself maybe another medal, hopefully gold, and then everybody can start fresh for a 3-year cycle until question mark.
Yeah, I totally agree. I know during her conference call today with members of the media, she had said, you know, that my family is the biggest deciding factor, which is totally understandable. There have been coaches who have stepped down due to family and personal reasons. And I think she said today during the conference call, listen, if we would have lost the World Cup, this would still be the decision I make. A really good quote that she had was, this isn't an occupancy that people have for 10 years. Change is good. And she's right. I can't believe I'm saying it, but Jill Ellis was right about something.
Well, you gotta give her some credit. It's like, she at least knows when to fold them, and she is like, yeah, I've taken a lot of flack, it's time for a new voice, which, I mean, better to realize that now than a year or two too late, so she's done something. Maybe that will help quell the rant, at least temporarily.
Yeah, who knows? Still gonna do a rant in memory of Whitney Engen.
Memoriam, as you said, to what could have been. But, okay, this leaves us in a little bit of a conundrum, like where we were with the men's team before Greg came in. You got a whole situation of the next coach, and this whole GM thing that's going on, just like, which I still don't understand, so has there been any rumblings? Have there even been any names? I haven't heard any. I mean, I kind of maybe have an idea or two.
See, I'm amazed you have an idea or two because I don't know at all. I think there's a lot of really good choices, whether it be former players or people within U.S. soccer. I think it'll be interesting to see who gets named. I know Equalizer reported that a new GM is supposed to be named soon. I would assume during the Victory Tour. I'm hoping during the Victory Tour. And I think it'll just be a really good experience for the United States to have this GM position. They're going to be hands-on in picking the next coach. That's a huge, huge part of the process. And so I think for the U.S. national team right now, this is a great new slate, a great new start. You're going to have somebody who's new to the coaching, who's new to general manager. Who knows? You could even throw in a new technical director in there, too. I think it's going to be an interesting time. It's going to be a trying time. There's going to need to be a lot of patience. I think that expectations should be kind of in the middle, not low, because you have the quality of the team, and it's a quality team that can do well. But at the same time, you have a new coach. There's going to be growing pains. Absolutely. You're not going to see that too much in CONCACAF qualifying. it's CONCACAF qualifying. U.S. and Canada are pretty much a lock for tournaments every single time.
True.
But I think once you get to those Olympics and even those tune-up matches beforehand, even if you get a really good quality team like Canada in the final of the qualifying tournament, there's going to be some growing pains, and I think that expectations shouldn't be low, but they shouldn't be so far up that you just demand a gold medal.
Yeah, and I really understand that. I mean, coming from this, the fact that it's been a while since we've won a gold medal, with this time of transition, if we even get on the podium, I'm okay with that. You know, we don't have to win the whole thing. We've been through that before. But I'm just wondering, there's all of this effort and all of this timing, which is fantastic. This is how the process should go in a proper sense. Why couldn't this have been done with the men's team? Especially because you know that with the timing of this, let's face it, some of the top NWSL coaches are going to be some of the favorites, at least in my mind. Why couldn't the transition at least set up and be this smooth for the men's team, like I'm pretty sure it's going to be for the women's team? I am very confused by that, because it's set up, say, okay, Jill stepping down, alright, GM, head coach, bam, 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 done.
Who knows with U.S. soccer?
As long as Carlos is still running the show.
We'll get that. We'll get to that in a minute. I think when it comes to the next coach too, I think, you know, looking at those NWSL coaches, you know, people that come to my mind, you know, Paul Riley, North Carolina Courage, how well he does leading that team. You've got a really good head coach, although I'm not personally his biggest fan. Mark Parsons deserves an interview. Vlatko Andovsky over at Reign FC, I think he deserves an interview. U.S. Soccer tried to push for Laura Harvey to get that GM position a while ago, but Ellis kind of knocked it out the door. There's been some disagreements between the two of them. Harvey could even be an option. There's so many different options throughout the league, even with some assistant coaches. I think that there's a really good wide array. I think down in collegiate level, there's some coaches who have proven themselves. I know Equalizer has a really good list they're working on, and I'm just excited to see who gets the nod and what kind of staff they're going to bring. You know, I mean, that's so underrated too. Dawn Scott, the performing enhancement coach, the strength coordination specialist, whatever her title is, she has been so good for this team. If it wasn't for Dawn Scott being on the U.S. national team staff, that team wouldn't win World Cups the way they do. She does so good in tracking different kind of things for players' health, what they need to eat, what their cycles look like, just a lot of different intricate things that other teams aren't doing, and Dawn Scott's just the head of the race. So it's going to be exciting to see who comes in, what staff comes in, and what happens. I'm excited.
So am I, because when you're digging down, especially to these like new levels of bioanalytics and sports science and things like that, being ahead of the pack, we need to, at the minimum, stay there, if not really expand. And even to the coaches, Paul Riley was the first one that came to my mind. I'm like, look at how dominant of a run North Carolina's been on. So you figure he could make the step up. But I'm just hoping that with all of the smoothness, but with all the extra drama going on the fringes, this doesn't get screwed up.
Lord hope.
My mind to where it's like, okay, I've been through this before.
And you know it's U.S. soccer.
Yeah. And speaking of U.S. soccer and Carlos Codeiro, when you put words to paper, they're officially a record. It's a trail. It is words that you cannot deny that you said because you did not just say them, they exist in a physical, two-dimensional space for other people to observe. Carlos, why? Just why? And even going into, with the open letter that he sent out, trying to rebut the women's national team lawsuit, first of all, I'm a math major. I have a math degree. I'm a math tutor. I have experience with bookkeeping, accounting, and different parts of finance. The key pieces, the cruxes that he had on his quote-unquote fact sheet are very wrong, questionable, and borderline improper when you're trying to determine how much in funds are loss versus profit, etc., etc., etc. Why even go through that trouble and putting yourself really in a worse position than when you started?
Well, I think what he thought he was doing was making a good point because, hey, look at this. Wow, U.S. Women's National Team, they did make more. But you know what he forgot? He forgot the NWSL. He forgot the huge gaps of pay between the NWSL players and MLS players. Now listen, we all know that there are some fans who completely crap on the men's national team, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I'm a supporter of MLS and NWSL. I'm not a supporter of the wage gap. And for someone to say, oh, well, hey, they actually did make more money, you got to look at the big picture. Yeah, they're making more money, and they're going to make more money in the league because they're getting better endorsements. They're on those federation contracts. Mm-hmm. But there's other players who have proven themselves. Kristen Hamilton has been scoring goals like crazy. Megan Oyster has turned into one of the best defenders in the league. And yet they're getting paid like $18,000 to $41,000. It's not a living wage. Meanwhile, you've got players in MLS making $1 million, $100,000. They're making six-figure salaries. And yet these players don't get the living wages they deserve. These U.S. national team players that are involved in this lawsuit, they're not just fighting for themselves. They're fighting for the other players who could have a chance to be on that national team and who are in the league busting their butt while those national team players are gone so their teams can still do well in the rankings and whatnot. It's a huge, huge mess. His numbers were off, shouldn't have sent out the letter, and it wasn't good. It wasn't a good look. And you can say, you know, we support the national team for equal pay, but when you say that and add a but at the end, and every time with Codeiro, with Galati, with others before them, there has been that but at the end. You can't have that but at the end.
Yeah, because as the saying goes, every time you start a sentence and you keep going in that sentence, then you get to the word but. Everything you said before the word but is meaningless. It's everything afterwards that's how you really feel. Plain and simple. I've seen it, I've heard it, I've said it, that's just how it goes. People are going to dissect that. Not to mention, you hit the nail on the head. You're saying, oh, they make more and your federation contracts and this and that. Why do you need the federation contracts to begin with? Because there isn't that existing investment in the NWSL. It wasn't really to begin with. And these federation contracts are, for a significant part, helping keep that league afloat. And even then, we saw what happened, and you mentioned it on a past episode, with FC Kansas City. We see what's going on with Sky Blue FC. There needs to be more done. There needs to be equal pay, equal investments. none of this is really going to change. You can throw out all of the numbers you want, but people are going to counter numbers with more numbers, Carlos. That's what we numbers people do.
Take it from someone who knows numbers.
You're damn straight. Now, one good thing I will say about the men's national team, and you're right, they do get a lot of crap from the rabid women's national team fangirls. They're like, hey, we know what's up. They're absolutely right. They deserve it. Hey, if it has to go to the courts or Congress, so be it. Let them pursue that as well. They should. And I say good for the men's national team, because if anybody, and we talked about this, the whole spirit of one nation, one team. That's the motto, that's the hashtag. The men's team are doing something right now with their statement to really help live up to that motto. So kudos for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's something, I have said it once. I'll continue to say it for the rest of my life until everyone starts acting like it. And you know what? The U.S. men's national team, they didn't have to say anything, but they did, because they aren't just showing their support, they're showing their solidarity. They believe these women. They see what these women do. They're not saying, oh, they're better than us, because they know the truth, the reality, the competition's different. But they know at the end of the day, no matter how different that competition is, no matter how tougher some of these men's teams they play against, how not as up to par as women's teams there are, that no matter what, the women deserve equal pay. And it's amazing to see the sudden switch of everyone now saying, oh yeah, we love the men's national team. You love seeing them root for the women. These were the same people that said the U.S. women's national team won the World Cup and the U.S. men's national team lost the Gold Cup, and you love to see that. No. We have to support one nation, one team. Because if you don't, soccer's not going to grow in this country. I said it before on a previous podcast. You don't see other nations pulling this, screw the men's national team, we're looking out for number one. You don't see that. You see unity with these national teams. And now, finally, the U.S. leads in so many different categories for women's soccer and champion winning women's soccer. But they never really champion that one nation, one team aspect. Now is a start. Having these fans get behind it and now, understand that, hey, rooting for the men's national team, it's not all that bad, is a pretty good start. I just need this to keep rolling. It shouldn't just be a one-time thing, and next time the U.S. men's national team lose, everyone points and laughs. No. Let's keep it going. One nation, one team.
Oh, and there's still some of that, because everybody was quick to mention with the letter, and they were talking about the World Cup games, and they're like, oh yeah, how many World Cup matches did the men play in? Oh, that's right, 0. So, hate to break it to you, but that part, it's never fully going to go away.
Ugh. Different competitions. The men have it harder to qualify for the World Cup than the women.
Especially when you don't listen to me and you actually pay attention against Trinidad and Tobago. And yeah, I'm still kind of bitter about that because I was right. But no, I'm the crazy one.
But that's why we love you. You're crazy.
At least I'm the good kind of crazy. Plus, I get into some weird shenanigans. But that's a conversation for a different podcast.
Tune into Point of Viewer, everyone.
Well, Point of Viewer, it could be renamed to the Black Irish Show, and I could have a co-host. Things are still in negotiations. It's a matter of scheduling. That's all I'm going to say. But,
Speaking of scheduling, how about Hope Solo?
Yeah! I get why she would want to be there and part of these negotiations, and if you look at things holistically, she has a very legitimate argument. But at the same time, I think she's burned one too many bridges to try to really make solid points in this.
I mean, Hope Solo, yes, she did help kind of start the conversation. Mm-hmm. She has been a champion of negotiating and helping the U.S. women's national team get those equal rights. Even when she was kicked off the team, she still fought for equal rights for the people she played with, the people she was teammates with in the league, and so on and so forth. She rooted for the U.S. during the World Cup. It's understandable why she wants to be there, but it's even more understandable why they're saying no. It's time to move on from the past, and Hope Solo is the past. Listen, I'm not saying, Alyssa Nair is going to go up and ring the gavel and she's going to lead this team marching in. There's no way. There's others with bigger voices than her, and that's nothing against Nair. It's just how her personality is. So, for Hope Solo to say, I demand to be in these meetings, what have you done to earn being in these meetings? What have you done in the recent weeks in these new contract negotiations, the ones that happened before the World Cup? I think she's just trying to thrust her back into the spotlight, and it's not working, and the U.S. national team players, they're not falling for it.
No, because the spotlight really has changed. You look at, even in the past 4 years, everybody who's played on the team and who's been the right to be in these negotiations based upon not only speech, but actions and merit. Yes, was the whole divorce between the women's national team and Hope Solo ugly? Very much so. But at the same time, look at how long ago that happened. You haven't done anything to really make yourself any better, and you haven't done anything to really smooth things over. So it's just no, they see you've moved on, they've moved on. That's the reality of interpersonal relationships.
Let bygones be bygones, but at the same time, let the wind blow.
Precisely. Okay. Did you know that there was a marquee first time ever event on tonight?
I did.
Did you happen to know where it was broadcast?
It was broadcast nowhere.
Yes, because I tried finding it on the guide, and I was trying to find some sort of replays of it, so that way I could tape it, because I was looking at something else. So, Dawn! No, I'm gonna get to you in a minute. I'm saving that for our last bit of the show. But do you know that there's an even bigger event tomorrow?
I do know that.
As do I, because it's finally time for the MLS All-Star game. MLS All-Stars against Atletico de Madrid. First of all, shout out to them for beating Real 7-3 in the International Champions Cup match. It was one of those Red Bull commercial games, and I say that because it was 5-0 at the half. We might have a little bit of a work cut out for us.
I'm sorry, I listened to the debate.
Yes, I was just saying that during the International Champions Cup, which I think Atletico was still alive. No, wait, they got eliminated because of a loss. They beat Real 7-3, and we're up 5-0 against them at the half. So we've got some work cut out for us, thanks to our starting 11, and at the very least, I'm going to say I'm a bit nervous after watching that performance.
It's going to be an interesting All-Star game. We'll see what happens. I think playing against these big teams is always a great test. It's a great idea to see our players up against these European players. You know my thoughts on Europe. So I will hold my breath. I will be nervous, but I'll also be excited because I think it's a great test. It's a great opportunity, and they just have to try.
Now, I'm going to say this. If you really want to give yourself a chance with the way that he's been playing, there's one man that's really got to come out, step up, and kind of back up with what he's been saying and further back up his performances. You know him? I love him. You may not, but he is the Zlatan. I'm sorry, but it's like, hey, you want to give yourself a chance against Atletico after everything that he said, and we'll get to the whole debate leading up to what happened in El Tráfico, but you can't mess with the Zlatan. It's like, here, put him out, see what happens. This is his chance to live up to it, and then say, hey, MLS, told you, you're welcome.
The lion still roars.
I mean, even someone more so than Joseph Martinez, who he's really been coming on strong, and you got guys like Carlos Vela, but come on, with a marquee event like this, to really not only help fuel the debate, but give MLS that little extra juice, yeah, it's Zlatan. But I'm sure you've got some others that you're anxious to see.
Well, you know, as somebody who covers the Sounders, I have to say I'm excited for Nico Codeiro. I think he's going to be fun to watch. I'm really excited to see Carlos Vela. Big fan of his. Really enjoy watching him. Mark Anthony Kay is somebody else, Vela's teammate, who has really just shown up, risen up, and he came from USL side, Louisville City FC, so an opponent of my Pittsburgh Riverhounds. So it's going to be exciting to see him play. I mean, Wando's Wando. You're always going to want to see him get a goal. I think having Walker Zimmerman there is great. Andre Blake is a huge reason to why. Philadelphia is in first place right now. It's exciting to watch, and I'm excited to see how everyone does.
So am I, but if they're smart, they've got to do one thing. Even if it's only for about 5 minutes, this would just completely make my day. Zlatan, Wayne Rooney, Nani. Manchester United together again. Doesn't have to be part of the starting 11. You could sub them on. Doesn't have to be for the whole match, but just that little bit of a link-up play. See what happens. I know. I've seen it work. It's awesome. Trust me on this one. Make that happen. I am speaking that into the universe.
Normally when Erik speaks stuff into the universe, it kind of happens, so I would trust him on this one.
Even when I don't speak certain things in the universe, when you have a certain someone like me who goes through a certain chain of events in my life, like I've had the past week and a half, there are certain things to where you have to take advantage of the momentum. That's all I'm going to say.
Bravo.
One thing I have noticed, and you mentioned this a little bit off air, how they're doing with the skills challenge, how they're doing this with the All-Star game. It's not just your regular nod to MLS. They're putting in that extra boost, celebrating the women's national team and their success. And I think for this time of year, given everything that's happened, Dawn, you get this one good one from me. It's a nice gesture. I like it. You're not getting many, but I gotta give you one.
It's nice to see players like Ali Krieger, Alex Morgan. Their club play happens in Orlando, and they're being involved in Orlando. Ali Krieger and Ashlyn were at the fan event last night. Alex Morgan was a guest judge during the skills competition. it's nice to see that not only celebrate world champions, but push the awareness of women's soccer and female athletes.
Yeah, we're trying to get this push for the NWSL, a post-World Cup bump with attendance. For a lot of it, it's been working, but you want to have this going through not just the victory tour, but through the rest of the season. And especially with Orlando linking in the Pride players like they have, hey, what perfect way to do it.
And that could help their attendance too. Their numbers haven't been the most impressive throughout the season. I think that they can go up. I think they have the capabilities to go up. They have that awesome, gorgeous stadium, and it's really time to put that to use. And I think just getting their exposure out there is really something.
Yeah, just help these record attendance numbers. Brew a little bit of home cooking like back in the old days. Then again, there was a little bit more winning too, but why is it always a bunch of disappointment?
Because you're an Orlando City fan.
Yeah, but they were good, and I thought Jason and getting rid of him and did playoffs and did... why? As if everything that's going on, Ben is already scaring me half to death.
Oh. See? This is why the new coach for the national team needs to have a syllable for their name. Ben, Don, Jill.
Craig?
Greg? I said Craig. Greg?
Oh, this is the beauty of monosyllabic names in rants. It's a precious thing, especially when they make you angry.
Which most of the time they do.
They do. But something else is it's angry, and we've mentioned a couple of these clubs. With it comes with attendance. There's good news. There's bad news. You come out to SeatGeek to watch Sam Kerr keep tearing it up still for the Red Stars, over 17,000. The bad news, Houston, who have a new park owner who has a very epic beard, the kind I want when I grow up, but a 5% ownership stake, is that enough to help boost a paltry, 3,500 attendance?
Mm-hmm.
I would hope so, because, yes, it's the Houston Dash, yes, it's Sky Blue FC, but when you've got some teams, 5,000, 7,000, the kind of numbers that you want to see, it's like, come on. You can do a little bit better at the bare minimum.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, I don't think we're going to have many teams that are pulling numbers like the Portland Thorns are able to pull. Rio Tinto Stadium is about the same size. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's about the same size capacity-wise as Providence Park. But for some reason, the Utah Royals, they can't pull that same crowd. And it's not like they don't have the star players. They do have the star players. They have Christian Press, Amy Rodriguez, Becky Sauerbrunn, Kelly O'Hara, Katie Bowen, just so many really good, talented players. But they're not pulling the same crowds as Portland. But you know what? I'll give this to Sky Blue. They got a new general manager in Alyssa LeHue, and she has been so bold and so energized for them. She literally put on Twitter asking for beer requests for people for when Sky Blue hosted, I believe it was the Washington Spirit at Yurkak. And now they're trying to leave that stadium and find a new home, somewhere that suits them a little bit better. They have a new GM who is really working and trying to improve this club after so many years of just lackadaisical leadership. And now you have somebody who is really taking an effort. She put a poll on Twitter because their match is selling out for Rain FC, saying they might not be able to offer tickets. Heck, why don't we move it to Red Bull Arena if they can? It's bold and it's exciting. That's something that Houston doesn't have. They had 3,510 fans come out to watch Sky Blue this weekend. Their home opener brought a bigger crowd. There was a regular season match, I believe, in either April or May that brought a bigger crowd. They don't have U.S. national team players, but they have a lot of Canadian players. They have Australian players, and they have there's just international overflow on that team. They don't have to be U.S. women's national team players. Why isn't Houston getting these numbers? I think it all goes back to just bold marketing. More teams need people like Alyssa LaHue to get out there and to really just show, hey, we have this great product. We'll be bold if we need you to see it. We'll take beer requests. Do it. Just come out, buy a ticket, and have a good time. And there are some teams that do it better than others. Now we have to see, can this stay the same? Can we keep these numbers going? Or are they going to drop off? Is Rio Tinto and the Utah Royals fans going to drop below 10,000 fans? Providence Park and the Thorns can keep their numbers. Can these other teams do it? Can Chicago bring back 17,000 fans? Can they bring back 15,000 fans? It's going to be a test. It's going to be a test of marketing. It's going to be a test of people spreading the word. Players too, not just the staff, but players too. Can Reign FC uphold Cheney Stadium and keep breaking their own attendance record? I think it's going to be trial and error, but I think it's going to be good for the league if they can keep these numbers consistent.
Well, I just have two things. Number one, believe it or not, when it comes to capacity for soccer matches, Rio Tinto is smaller. 20,000 compared to 25,000. Number two, can anyone make beer requests? Because I have some ideas.
I believe so. Just follow Sky Blue and Alyssa LaHue on Twitter and get out to Yurkak.
I wonder how kind New Jersey people take to different ciders. I have to investigate that. Nevertheless, I do agree, because when you're talking in all of these things, numbers really matter. If you keep bringing out the numbers in droves, this is why the Fire are trying to do their thing, leaving Bridgeview. But this is why you say, hey, let's move this match, as so many people want to be here to an MLS arena, show that we're for real. It can be done, but it's not just all on the fans to come out and support. It's on the clubs themselves, especially if you're going to have issues with U.S. soccer as far as them stepping back and letting the club owners manage more day-to-day operations. More of the onus is on them to make the fans want to come out, because if they don't, we've seen this happen to an extent with WUSA. We've seen this happen with WPS. Are we really willing to go through that yet again?
And if anything, I mean, this is on the fans themselves to spread the word. Mm-hmm. It's not a one-person job. It's not just the club's job. It's the fans' job, too. Show out in numbers. Come support your team. Even if you're buying a ticket for somebody else, just make the investment. If you want to see this league grow, if you want to see your U.S. women's national team players have one of the best leagues to play in, then you got to invest in it.
Exactly. Because, again, it's the numbers and it's the money. Plain and simple.
And money talks.
Indeed. Now, finally, just to tie up a couple loose ends before I end the show with my Don rant. Don, I told you weren't safe. I'm just buying you time. We teased this a little bit with the Beard himself, James Harden. Everybody's talking about his new player partner with the Rockets, Russell Westbrook. Fine. I already know that's going to blow up in his face. What does he do instead that's under the radar? I don't know, buys a 5% stake in not just the Houston Dash, but also the Houston Dynamo. I'm pretty much on board with this. Normally, celebrity owners, I'm not the biggest fan. I've seen situations blow up, but this is just enough to where it's like, okay, I gotta throw a little bit of respect on his name for this.
I'm excited to see what kind of ideas he's going to bring, too. I don't really have much to say about this topic, but I'm excited to see what kind of stuff he comes up with.
Inject some fashion sense, get some new kits, I don't know. That would be my guess. I wonder how easy would it be to create like those fake beards but look exactly like his, because it's sort of angular and juts out to a point. So, I don't know. I need someone that can actually good at drawing to help me out. If you are, reach out to me at Squid Sportshead, because between that and a tattoo design that I have in mind, I'm going to be enlisting a little bit of help. Now, we also mentioned both of these players. We mentioned a little bit of the instant classico that was El Tráfico, Carlos Vela versus the Zlatan. Now, clearly, the last time these two teams met, the Zlatan won. Hands down. As honestly he should have. But, to me, not only does this add a little bit of depth to that LA rivalry, I think this is the kind of one-on-one rivalry that we've seen in a couple of other sports, even more so in basketball, that this is really something MLS could really use. I'm digging it.
Rivalries are great, and it doesn't just have to be between teams. Having it between players is a lot of fun. And more importantly, you just said it. It gets people talking. It gets people's names out there. It gets the league's name out there. It's fun.
Exactly. And this is the kind of thing, and even if, when the teams aren't playing each other, when you've got matches like, say, LAFC are against Atlanta, and you've got coming up Atlanta against the Galaxy. It's like, come on. You've got all these stars at other places. You have those individual fandoms. They're going to come out and see their main man play. Hype this up a little bit. Don, I'm looking at you on this one. Someone's falling into your lap. Use it. Now, going a bit north of the border, where it's not just Canadian football and everybody counting down the hockey season, you've got Toronto FC. They've been shaking up and not entirely of their own volition, but there's been some player movement.
Terrence Boyd is heading back to Germany, but not the Bundesliga, not the second Bundesliga. He's going to the third tier level. So the Boyd experiment is over, not even after a year.
Is that, if I remember right, that's the Tri-Liga? Because you have Schweizer Bundesliga, Ein Bundesliga. Anyway, I really have to work on my German numbers, but I'm pretty sure it's Tri-Liga.
You would know better than I.
I try to be international when I wanna. For something like this, okay, he didn't have a whole much of an impact, fine, but still, what does this mean when you have a player that's leaving a top flight club and one with at least some recent success, as Toronto has, for a third division team almost anywhere, let alone Europe?
Well, you know, when Sebastian Giovinco left Toronto FC and went to the Middle East, I believe he's in Saudi Arabia now, he really called out the team for, you know, their medical staff and the owner and whatnot. And, you know, Josie Altidor's gone head-to-head in the media with a few spats. Maybe there's something a little more to this situation that we don't know. I'm interested to hear if Terrence Boyd will talk.
I hope so, because got guys like Omar posting about Toronto being home and everything on Twitter when he's only been with the club officially not even a month. So it's like, what's really going on in the GTA?
In the six.
Drake. Oh boy, you've come a long way since the days of Aubrey Graham trying to play a little kid just making a middle school basketball team. Okay. Anyway, enough of that. With this victory tour, with everything going on in the NWSL, I don't know. The timing to me, it's like, great. You have this boost, but now you're kind of at risk of another attendance drop-off because, yes, the women's national team is playing Ireland, okay, but this is going to create a bit of a percolating situation if not looked at carefully.
It was interesting to hear how the U.S. national team players had said, listen, we're shrinking the victory tour to give more spotlight to the NWSL. And then, bam, first match of the victory tour is on a weekend of the NWSL. And you got to remember, these players have only played one weekend of action because they were still doing their media appearances in celebration, 1 or 2 weekends of action. So for them to just go for a week or two and then come back to national team camp, it hurts the players too, because now they're trying to get in a groove. Now they're trying to get back with their teammates, get on the same page, and now they're gone again. And it's also, I have to feel for a player like Kristen Hamilton, who, listen, no knock to Jess McDonald or anything, but Hamilton goes and scores 7 goals during the World Cup break, yet Hamilton comes back and immediately she starts. Kristen Hamilton has been one of the best players this NWSL season. She added another goal this weekend. So now, she'll get the chance to start again, but will she keep that spot?
I don't know. They're really asking a lot of these NWSL coaches to manage all these different lineups and now having to deal with all these rotations. And let's face it, you're at a very crucial point of the season. Kind of like just midway and going a bit to the home stretch. It's like, I really wouldn't want to have to deal with something like this.
Oh, yeah. Rain's injury list and international list will get longer and longer. Poor Vlatko.
Well, hopefully there's still a little bit of time, thankfully, and again, it's only 5 matches, which is better, but let's hope for everybody who's in the fight, this doesn't derail their title chances. Now, something I've really got to say to Dawn to end the show. First of all, an early congratulations. August 4th, will be his 20th anniversary as taking over as MLS Commissioner. Which, admittedly, that is a very long time. Yes, you did some beneficial things. I can't completely slam you for your 20-year tenure, where MLS was in 99, where you've grown it, expansion, TV contracts, everything All-Star game from where it is now. MLS is a much better product than even my days when I was first getting interested in MLS back in high school. I'm not denying that. But at the same time, Don, let's be real. You said everything that you said about what Zlatan and understanding his mindset, and you appreciate him as far as for seeing business with the league. You kind of helped him out. You cut him some slack. great. But let's be real. You've got the CDA coming up with the players. I get that could be a bit of a messy situation. So far, they're saying that everything is okay. But expansion. You said that you're going to go to 30 teams. I don't see you stopping at 30. I don't see that from you at all. You already said that your main thing of why the expansion fees go up is to help with the other owners distribute that so that way you get a bigger table, but you get that little bit of extra pie. No problem. A lot of leagues do this. Look at what's going on in the NHL with Seattle and their expansion team. All those other owners are splitting $650 million. It's the nature of the beast. However, how many times have I said you can get to the point to where you're too big and something needs to be done? Don't give me all of this crap about you're saying I'm not really thinking about MLS 1, 2, 3, or 5. How on the planet Earth are you going to run one gigantic soccer league with 30, 32 teams, more than that? Especially when you've got the CONCACAF Champions Tournament, Leagues Cup that you're starting and you're going to expand with Liga MX. Are you still going to have this as a separate league going into 2026? Are you still going to look at the North American League, which FIFA has said preliminarily they're going to be okay with? If you're not, and if it's going to be just you and the US and Canada, are you really willing to commit to one enclosed system just by itself? Because even for scheduling purposes, you get beyond 30 teams, you're not really going to have any opportunities for a double round robin. The schedule would be too long. You may get to the one point to where, outside of a derby, like the Southern Derby or the California Classico or El Tráfico, Cascadia Cup, what have you, you would only have to be able to play everybody in the league once. That's what you're really looking for. So why don't you sit down and think about this longer term? You're going to need some sort of pro-rel system. One massive super league does not cut it. You don't see that anywhere really in Europe. You don't see that in South America. You don't even see that in Asia. So come on. If you're really looking to expand to this much, it's got to be in the back of your mind at some point. And even if you do go forward with the North American League, you're going to have some teams in a second, third, fourth division potentially. They're not going to be all top dogs in the Superliga fighting for millions of dollars in a trophy. There's just too much going on for that. So, look back on these 20 years, but really look forward to the next 20. Because Lord only knows, you're going to be in my hair, which is going to get progressively more gray, because you're going to keep doing things to where I'm going to have to keep screaming at you. Will you take my advice just for this once? Be practical in these decisions. Come on, Don. You're doing enough to me as is.
There you have it, folks.
It's simple. 30 teams, a 16 and a 14. You expand to 32. 2-16 each. You have separate playoff systems. Promotion, relegation, you do as little as 2 spots. Everything could be glorious and wrapped up all neat and tidy. But no. Even for the North American League. Dr. Benji FM, go look at that when he had Central Park Rangers. He laid out a nice 6-tier system with the USL and the USL Cup and a negotiable floating weekly salary cap. Then he had the 3 top North American leagues, even a top 6 playoff for the Superliga, It's right in front of your face and all in existence. Jesus, Don. Just, I had to lay it out on a silver platter? How much do silver platters even cost? I gotta Google that.
Don, I don't know how much Erik can take.
If you're gonna give me all of this to make me spout these things, can you at least pay me? I don't know, get together with Orlando City or DC United. Give me some sort of funky season ticket package. And maybe some travel expenses, because I admit, I'm kind of broke right now, and I don't know, maybe throw in a flight to Omaha. It's a very long story, but that would be nice. Anyway, before I lose my mind, I need to just wrap this up here. I tell you, this is soccer to the max, people. You know you love it. You know you want to listen on iTunes. You know you want to give us a 5-star rating. You know you want to listen to us on Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeart, wherever you get your podcasts. We're all right there. And again, if I'm nuts, tweet me anytime at Squid Sportshead. Tweet Sean at W2M Sean to go ahead and try to get him back on the show to talking off the ledge sometimes. Rachel can only do so much. I know that. She knows that. Rachel, any final words, and give out your Twitter and help me save me from myself before I go. Wait, I can't get drunk because I drank the last of my booze. Oh, Jesus, well, that was a bad idea.
You can follow me on Twitter at Rachael McCrigger, 2 A's, not just one. And last word from me, after the craziness that was today, the debates, Marianne Williamson actually making some sort of sense, and Jill. Thank you for making me bang my head against the wall for 6-7 years. It's been the best 6-7 years of torture I've ever had in my life. I have another rant for you. Stay tuned.